Rumpole and the Old Boy work concerns a very upper-class, nice couple played by Michael Dennison and Dulcie Gray, who run what they call a friendly house and what we might call a brothel, or house of ill fame. But it's specially geared for old public school boys, members of the upper classes, to attend in discretion and quiet. But unfortunately they get accused of blackmailing one of their clients, and Rumpole has to defend them against the supposed blackmailer. One of the aspects of this trial which is interesting and featured in various trials in England at the time was that the man who said he was being blackmailed was allowed to conceal his identity and to be known in court as Mr. X. And of course that brings out all the fight in Rumpole against the judge, the famous Judge Bullingham. He says everything should be out in the open and Mr. X should be made to disclose his identity.
Who is it?
Custard.
Oh, coming over, yeah?
Shall we go inside, sir?
I say, steady on, you chaps, steady on. I've got a warrant, I suppose.
Don't argue, little Napier. Don't demean yourself.
I say, Katie, you fellows! Katie!
Now then, off, sir. Can't we be just a little bit civilised? There's no need here, Mr. Manners, is there? Oh, young men, have a nice cup of tea.
Get dressed, please, sir, and follow me.
No hurry, is there? Why can't we get a kettle put on?
Right.
There you are, Susan. Up so easy, dear.
Steady on, you chaps.
Right, I'm going.
An Englishman's home is his castle, you know.
Does anyone know the test trophies?
Thank you very much, sir. I wouldn't mind waiting while we check the record.
Name, sir?
You have no right. It's a question of national security. Name, please. And don't bother to make up a Normandy plume, sir. We'll need some sort of identification.
This be the verse you graved for me. Here he lies, where he longed to be. Home is the sailor home from sea, and the hunter home from the hill.
You're back then, Mr. Rumpole?
Back, yes, Henry, no thanks to you. Next time I'm in darkest Africa, try not to send a cable saying the murder has been arranged. They were within an ace of ordering my execution.
Oh, the murder went off.
So did I, very nearly.
But Mr. Bernard rang, sir. He wants a con today in the Bawdy House case. R.V. Lee.
Keep thy foot out of brothels, Henry. Such places are far more entertaining to litigate about than to visit. Tell Bernard I'm ready for him. On Her Majesty's service. Has our gracious Queen nothing better to do than to write to me about money I'm supposed to owe her wretched government? What's this? A letter from LAC, L-A-C. Lawyers as churchgoers. Moral purpose in the law. A call to witness for all believing barristers. The brothel case, eh? Not much danger of finding any moral cause in that, I should suppose.
Oh, great heavens, we thought you'd gone native. We pictured you ruling some primitive tribe under a bong tree.
Oh, Erskine Brown, you are a caution. Well, I suppose I'd better take charge of the primitive tribe in these chambers. Guthrie Featherston's old room's empty, is it, Henry?
We're deciding the head of chambers problem at the end of the month, Horace, at the chambers meeting.
Nobody in Guthrie's old room, is there, Henry?
No, Mr. Rumpole. But I don't think you ought to,
Rumpole, a word.
Yeah.
I think it's only fair to let you know I've done it.
And then your only course is to plead guilty, Ford.
I've applied for silk, Rumpole.
Oh?
I think I've got a reasonable chance. Philly's right behind me. Claude, Erskine Brown, QC. How do you think it sounds?
Very promising, provided you're on the other side. Tell me, Claude, when is this QC business likely to take place?
In about 6 weeks.
Oh, that's after the meeting about head of chambers?
Yes, after that.
Oh, that's all right, then. Best of British luck, old man. What are you doing here?
I thought it was all right. Doesn't this room belong to a judge who doesn't come here anymore?
Fair ruin choirs where late sweet Guthrie sang. What's the matter? Shoplifting? You look too young for divorce.
I'm a barrister.
Oh, bad luck. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm Miss Erskine Brown's pupil.
Mrs. Erskine Brown, Phillida Trant it was. The posher of our chambers. Miss Phillida Trant now has a pupil. Good Lord, how time flies.
She left me in a case after lunch at Tower Bridge. Oh, there was a terrible argument about the evidence. And I said I couldn't do it without my learned leader, Miss Trant. It was in a sort of difficulty.
Well, you should have charged in, taken your chance.
And the magistrate said, what sort of difficulty? And I said, I think she's still at the hairdresser.
Oh, Lord, yeah. Forgetting the first lesson for a pupil. Protect the private life of your learned pupil master, or mistress in this case.
Now Mrs. Erskine Brown says I went behind the ears. I better get myself a nice job in the club department at Harrods. She says they probably won't want another woman in chambers anyway.
You've got a name, have you, I suppose?
Fiona Always.
Oh, well, that's not your fault.
It's all I've ever wanted to be. When the other girls at school wanted to ride show jumpers, I just stood in front of the mirror and made speeches in murder cases.
Look, I'm doing a conference here shortly. You can take a note of it if you like. You might as well make yourself useful. No objection to prostitution, have you? What's the matter now?
I suppose you think that's all I'm fit for?
Savoury bits that you do so well. People do like those, don't they? People do. But what exactly do you want them for, Hilda? For Rumpole's first chambers party, as head. And as the head lady, naturally, I shall want to keep an eye on the catering. That's why I'm nobbling you for your little cheesy bits.
Is it such a thing, then, Hilda, being head of chambers?
That is, C.H. Whiston was head of our chambers, you know. That was how I met Rumpole.
Oh, yeah, yes, I think I remember.
The head of chambers is captain of the ship, Dodo. Tremendously respected. Oh, and I got this in the spring sales at Debenham's cocktail hour for the more mature woman. Marigold Featherston used to wear all kinds of things when Guthrie was head. Most of them quite unsuitable.
I can see this is going to be quite a thing for you, Hilda.
Oh, but I'm not at all nervous, Dodo. Provided, of course, that I know you're behind me with your little cheesy bits.
It is not just simply a matter of a disorderly house. The unfriendly prosecution have aimed their big guns at you, loaded with a charge of blackmail.
Demanding money with menaces. I've explained it to the clients.
Neither Nika nor I can understand anyone saying that about us, can we, Nappy? All our clients are such awfully decent people. Public school, of course. And I do think that makes such a difference.
This madam would appear to be the most appalling snob.
Napier was at Lawnhurst, Mr. Rumpole. Down for it from birth. Weren't you, Nappy?
Yes, the governor put me down for Lawnhurst at birth.
Mr. Napier Lee, Mrs. Lorraine Lee, it is very pleasant to be sitting here over a cup of tea discussing the merits of the public school system. But you have been charged with obtaining money by threats, and from a very distinguished gentleman by the name of...
Please, Mr. Rumpole.
No need to name names, is there?
Not when it comes to a man in his position.
You see, he was at Lawnhurst. Then New College, Oxford, the Brigade of Guards, and now the foreigner.
The gentleman in question, it would appear, paid your gas bills from time to time.
When business was slack, I'm not denying it, Mr. Rumpole. He helped us out.
And did you threaten to publish his little secret if he didn't?
Oh, no. He knew we'd never do a thing like that, didn't he, Nappy?
Well, of course he knew. He was in my house.
Your disorderly house?
My house at Lawnhurst, sir.
Yes.
It would have been sneaking. One does not sneak. It's against the code. No, Mr. Rumpole, I think that's really all we have to tell you.
No, please. There is something else you want to tell me. Please, sit down. How on earth did you get into this business? I mean, looking at you, a small twin set and cardigan shop in Cheltenham Spa would seem more appropriate.
Napier had a bit of bad luck in the city.
Like my father before me.
Also, his health wasn't quite up to it after the war.
Ticker a bit dicky, don't you know, after playing a long innings against Brother Bosch.
Napier has a dicky ticker.
Well, back in Civvy Street, I happened to run into old... and we discussed the possibilities of a business along the lines of the one we've been running.
A friendly house for the very nicest type of customer. The kind that Nappy got to know on the old boy net.
And he very decently came up with the spot of capital.
I see. And this helpful person was a friend you'd known for some time?
Oh, yes, an old mate, you understand, from way back. Of course, we'd drifted apart a bit over the years.
Was he by any chance perhaps an old school friend?
Napier couldn't possibly tell you a thing like that, Mr. Rumpole.
Against the code.
Yes, that's right. Against the code. Like wearing suede shoes with a dark suit, what?
Oh. Yes. I didn't go to Lawnhurst. My public school was a poorly run penal colony on the Norfolk coast. The only code I ever got there was a code of the does. Yes, we at Linklaters never got to know the really top people.
Yes, Mr. Rumpole, we know. Nappy looked you up, and we're both terribly sorry.
Conference over. Night, Henry. Night, Dad.
Oh, Mr. Rumpole, I had your wife on the phone, sir.
She must be in bed. Did she want to speak with me?
No, it seems she wanted to speak to me, sir, on the subject of snacks.
Snacks?
You know, sausage rolls, little cheesy bits, she said, sir. Well, anyway, I told her we weren't having the Chambers party until after the meeting, and then we'd be able to welcome our new head of Chambers.
Head of Chambers, she who must be obeyed, has set her heart upon it. She will not take no for an answer. Do you follow me?
Oh, yes, Mr. Rumpole, I follow you.
It's Rumpole, isn't it?
A piece of him.
Ballard. Sam Ballard. I'm leading in Lee for the Crown.
Ah. Not a terribly cheering prospect. I suppose this character might have passed as reasonably good-looking. And when he was alive...
I passed Chambers this morning. In fact, I dropped something in your tray.
Oh, really? I can't say I noticed Ballard.
Ballard.
Ballard, sorry.
It was about a meeting of lawyers as churchgoers. I do hope you can find time to join us. We should value your contribution.
Well, my doctor has warned me against all undue excitement. I think this little get-together of yours may place considerable strain on your ticker.
Henry warned me about you, Rumpole. He said you had a sense of humour.
Oh, only a mild one, Ballard. Nothing fatal. You managed to keep free of it, have you? What do you do? Jog a lot, I should imagine.
Some of our keenest members scoffed at the outset.
Really? Well, I never. Well, I certainly hope that this little prosecution will be conducted in a thoroughly Christian spirit.
You can rely on me for that.
Yes, I hope to see a certain reluctance on your part about casting the first stone.
Decent men, family men, men who had earned the respect of the community and were placed in positions of trust, found themselves tempted by this house, 66 Barnardine Square, Victoria. Men left that particular house, members of the jury, with their consciences burdened with guilt and their wallets considerably lightened. Among the many respectable figures that fell victim to the temptations of 66 Barnardine Square...
Among the many respectable figures, who, I wonder, doctors, politicians, police officers, lawyers, judges. Oh, I must ask my clients. Oh, of course, they never tell me. Far too discreet, against the code. But the thought is almost too good to be true. A bull in a knocking shop.
Over the door of 66 Barnardine Square was that which Dante chose for his Inferno. Abandon hope, all ye who...
Wasting his time, this fellow Bollard.
Of course, once he was in the door.
I mean, the bull probably thinks that Dante is somebody who does conjuring tricks on television.
Simple pains to find out. The fly was trapped. He couldn't get away. And if he was a man who enjoyed important position in public life, he would pay anything, you may think, to buy the silence of this brazen woman and her procuring husband.
What do you say?
Jury,
I think the gentleman was talking about us, Snappy.
No doubt
I looked him up.
Deeply ashamed
Marlborough.
of his conduct.
And I wondered they didn't teach
He
us
has
better
cooperated
manners.
willingly in bringing this couple to justice. Thank you. My lord, I will call my first witness.
Please do, Mr. Bell. Well, who is it, old love? Don't be coy about it.
And they're ready for you, sir.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Name, please.
My lord, I would make the usual application in a blackmail case. I would ask that the witness be known simply as Mr. X, and that your lordship should direct the ladies and gentlemen of the press not to repeat the name under any circumstances.
Yes, that seems a very proper order to make in view of this gentleman's position. I imagine you have no objection, Mr. Rumpole. I do object, yes, my lord. British justice is meant to take place in public. And the ladies and gentlemen of the press have a right to report the witnesses' names.
There is an exception to this rule, Mr. Rumpole, in blackmail cases, as you well know.
In that case, I would have no objection, my lord, provided a similar concession had been made for the benefit of my clients.
My lord, perhaps we should continue with this in the absence of the jury, if there is to be an argument.
You can bet your dear old hair shirt there's going to be an argument.
Very well. Members of the jury.
Members of the jury, unfortunately, legal matters arise from time to time that have to be resolved. Would you go to your room?
Shan't have to detain you long. Now, Mr. Rumpole, did I hear a somewhat unusual argument with regard to the defendant in this case?
That they should be known as Mr. and Mrs. Y. Why not, my lord? My learned friend has talked about embarrassment. Mr. and Mrs. Lee have been plastered over the front pages of every newspaper in the United Kingdom. Darby and Joan, House of Shame, charged with being top people's madam, so on and so forth. They've had to submit to a barrage of prejudicial publicity, while this client of theirs can creep into court under a letter of the alphabet and preserve his precious respectability intact.
Mr. Rumpole, there is no charge against this gentleman. He is innocent of any crime.
So my client's innocent. Innocent until proven guilty. Or doesn't that rule still apply in your lordship's court?
Mr. Rumpole, this court is entitled to some respect.
I have so much respect for this court, my lord, that I give it the credit for applying the law of England. Unless that's been changed while I was out of the country, I merely ask for information.
Your application that your client's name should not be published is refused, Mr. Rumpole. The case may be reported in full as far as they are concerned.
No doubt they'll be delighted to contribute to the entertainment of a great British breakfast, if your lordship pleases.
Ah, Mr. Ballard, I suppose your argument would be that if this witness's secrets were exposed to the public, then, in effect, the blackmail threat would have been successful. That is, your
argument, isn't it?
Yes, it is, now you've told him.
Yes, yes, it is, my lord. And your lordship puts it so much better than I can.
Soapy Sam Ballard. I see your religious beliefs don't prevent a little grovelling on occasion.
I see it's very nearly 1 o'clock. But I will give judgment on this point now, so that the witness may enjoy his lunch with a certain degree of peace of mind.
Oh, how nice.
The defendants, through their counsel, seem particularly anxious that this gentleman's patronage of their alleged house of ill repute should become widely known. Now, if that were allowed, it would be a blackmailer's charter, and no victim would ever dare to go to the police. I am determined that this witness's high reputation shall be protected. He will give his evidence to the jury as Mr. X after lunch.
Coming, Miss Always.
That was absolutely splendid, Mr. Rumpole. Your fight for press freedom.
Oh, I thought I was rather shot down in flames.
I mean, the judge really wants to form a protection society with the punters, doesn't he?
Who's that?
Isabel Vincent. She was prefect when I was at Benedict. I hear they worshipped her, rather.
Oh, do girls have an old boy network, too?
Isabel works for Home Counties News now. She's tremendously into women's liberation.
Oh, so am I.
You?
All for it, especially the liberation of Mrs. Lorraine Lee.
I think it's jolly unfair, keeping his name a secret.
Oh, dear. Thank you. Rumpole and Miss Always to see Mr. and Mrs. Lee.
Thank you, sir. Number 3.
Yes, thank
I mean, this wouldn't exist at all if it weren't for the Mr. X's. I suppose you know what his name is.
you. Oh, yes, I know what it is. It's signed his deposition.
So you can tell anybody.
Contempt of court is a silent exercise, Fiona, like meditation.
I've never been to the cells before.
Have you not? For me, the cells have become a sort of home from home.
But we don't want his name splashed all over the papers, Mr. Rumpole. We wouldn't want that.
Damn painful, a man in his position.
The old boy net. Look, he sneaked on you. Why not return the compliment?
Whatever he's done, we've got to do the decent thing.
We think the judge is a perfect gentleman.
What?
Don't be nappy.
Yes, absolutely. He didn't want the poor fellow's name spread all over the papers.
Of course not. It would have been terribly embarrassing.
And it would be terribly embarrassing, Mrs. Lorraine Lee, if you and your husband spent 5 years in prison for blackmail. And what about me? I mean, you may be as snug as a bug in the nick. I simply cannot afford to lose cases at this particular point in my career. I am about to be elevated to high office. Why just gas?
What?
Well, you used a lot of gas, did you, at Barnardine Square?
No, not particularly. The bills used to lie out on the hall table, and, well, he offered to pay 1 or 2, out of kindness, really.
Yes, he used to give us a little check.
A check? In a house of ill repute, a check. Mr. X is either very naive or...
Or what?
Yes, indeed. Or what? I don't know. And we may never have a chance to find out.
We don't like it being called a house of ill repute, Mr. Rumpole. That isn't nice. We call it a friendly house.
Hello, Ballard. I enjoyed the sermon.
Did you, Rumpole?
Haven't had so much fun since the old school parson gave us 45 minutes of hellfire. You always eat here, do you?
Yes, of course. Don't you use the bar mess?
As a matter of fact, no, I prefer the pub across the road. More chance of rubbing shoulders with a few respectable criminals. Awful lot of barristers here, aren't there?
You must take me to your pub sometime. I mean, we should get rather better acquainted.
I'd drop in on one of your churchgoers' meetings.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I think there's a great deal to be said for introducing more Christian spirit into the law.
I'm so glad you think so.
Oh, I do. As I understand it, there's more joy in heaven if one sinner repenteth and all that sort of thing.
All that sort of thing, yes.
And if 2 sinners repenteth to the tune of pleading guilty to keeping a disorderly house, wilt thou not drop the blackmailing charge, old cock?
No. they could get 5 years for blackmail, whereas the top sentence for keeping a disorderly house is a mere 6 months. Is that the reason behind your appeal to Christian principles, Rumpole?
You have a remarkably cynical attitude for a churchgoer.
Blessed are the blackmailers, for they shall walk out without a stain on their characters. Is that your version of the Sermon on the Mount, Rumpole?
Prisons are built with stones of law, brothels with bricks of religion. That's William Blake, the William Blake version. I'll give you another quotation. For I come not to call the righteous, but the sinners to repentance. Matthew 9, verse 13.
You seem to rely heavily on the scriptures, Rumpole. You really must join us at Lack.
My old father was a cleric. I'll tell you something. He hated Bible classes.
The judge will be back soon.
"5 years. They'd really get 5 years.
I know what we want in this case, young old lad. A witness or two. A witness who knows something about Mr. X. But who's going to come galloping to our aid while no one knows who in the hell he is? You won't mind me calling you Mr. X?
No.
Thought you wouldn't. For how long were you an habitué of this house of ill repute?
Really, Mr. Rumpole, does that make the slightest difference?
Please answer the question unless my lord rules against it on a point of law.
I've been visiting there for about 5 years.
5 years. On your way home from directing the nation's affairs?
Mr. Rumpole.
Yes, very well. On your way home from work, before you got lost in the bosom of your family, it was your practice to pop into 66 Barnardine Square, was it?
Yes.
Tell me, how did you first find out about this place of resort?
Find out about it?
Yes, bit of gossip at the club, was it? Or perhaps an advertisement in the Times personal columns?
I heard about it from an old friend.
An old friend? Was it by any chance someone you'd known at school?
Well, I'd known him nearly all my life.
And you had kept up with him?
No, we met again after an interval of a good many years.
Where did you meet?
In the public house.
In the Victoria area?
Somewhere near there, yes.
How long ago was this meeting in a public house in Victoria?
About 5 years ago.
5 years ago. The old school friend in question wasn't by any chance Mr. Napier Lee, defendant in this case? I just broke the first rule of cross-examination. Never ask a question unless you know the answer.
Yes.
Speak up, Mr. X.
Yes, my lord, it was Mr. Napier Lee.
A miracle. How'd I get God on my side? What did he tell you?
He told me that you'd been ill. He said I had a house somewhere near Victoria Station, and that he and his wife were starting a business there.
A business in agreeable ladies?
Yes.
And did you offer to put some much-needed capital into that business? I mean, the court had kept your name secret, Mr. X, because you're so respectable. Are you not, in fact, an investor in a boarding house?
My lord, the witness should be warned.
I do know my job, Mr. Ballard. I should warn you that you are not bound to answer any question that might incriminate you. Now, do you wish to answer Mr. Rumpole's question, or would you rather not?
I would prefer not to, my lord.
You would prefer not to. So, you had an arrangement with Mr. and Mrs. Lee over a period of 5 years. They, for their part, had 5 years in which to blackmail you if they had wanted to do so.
Yes, I suppose so.
And yet there wasn't the slightest suggestion of such a thing until 6 months ago.
That is right.
When you say you were asked by them to pay a couple of trivial gas bills.
Bills for £145 and £137 53 pence.
And you paid these bills for the Lees by cheque.
Yes.
Why?
Because, as I have told you, Mr. Rumpole, they threatened to tell my employers about my visits to their house unless I did so.
I don't mean that. Why did you pay by cheque?
Oh, I don't know exactly.
Well, did you ever pay by cheque before when you visited this place on previous occasions?
No.
Or was it cash?
No, of course.
Yes, of course. Because you did not want a record of your name left in connection with the Lee's business. But on the occasion of this alleged blackmail, you did want a record left.
I told you I don't know why I paid by cheque. On those occasions...
Was it because you needed evidence on which to base this completely unfounded allegation of blackmail against my clients?
No. Well, I suppose I just didn't think about it.
Thank you, Mr. X.
Mr. X, when you paid in cash, I presume you paid the girls in the establishment?
Yes, my lord.
Did it strike you as a different matter when you were paying the gas bill for them?
Yes, my lord.
But you saw no particular harm in paying that great public authority by check.
No harm at all.
No. You'll rise now, 10:30 tomorrow morning, members of the jury.
Well, Rumpole, how did it go?
I suppose it could be described as a nightmare.
You mean it's not going well?
Well, we have a prosecutor who wears a hair shirt and who seems to have done his pupillage under the Inquisition. The man Bull is madder than ever. Our chief witness has this in common with the late lamented Lohengrin: no one must ever ask him his name. And my clients seem to think it's in the best public school tradition to be found guilty of blackmail. There we all are, down the old belly, rolled round in earth's diurnal course with rocks and stones and trees, and it's giving me a bad headache.
I mean in chambers, Rumpole. The headship, is it going to be ours?
You have a remarkable legal ambition, Hilda. I'm only sorry I can't bring you back the Lord Chief Justice's chain of office, together with a bottle of Pomeroy Chateau de Plockenheim.
I'm not looking for the Lord Chancellor.
Oh, you'll be very relieved to hear it.
Just head of Daddy's old chambers. There's no one more senior than you, is there, Rumpole?
No one longer in bottle as a legal hack, no.
And no suits?
No, not so far. Oh, Erskine Brown's application doesn't come up until after the Chambers meeting.
Oh, then it's in the bag, isn't it?
Oh, fear nothing, Hilda. As far as I'm concerned, your election is assured.
And Dodo's agreed to help out at the party, and she does all sorts of bits.
Oh, damn versatile, Dodo. She paints too, didn't she? Oh, look, it's Ms. Thing.
There have been astonishing revelations today in the Top People's Disorderly House case. Home Counties News can reveal that Mr. X is in fact the very senior civil servant of the Foreign Office, Sir Cuthbert Pericles, and he is only one of the men, highly placed in public life, who are believed to have visited the house in Barnardine Square. It is Isabel Vincent, Home Counties News.
My God.
I never said that, Rumpole.
You're nearest the window, Hilda. Did you hear a loud noise coming from Kensington?
What sort of noise?
His Honour Judge Bullingham blowing up.
Almost 50 years' experience at the bar and on the bench. I have never known a more flagrant, wicked, and inexcusable contempt of the court. The order of this court was perfectly clear.
How long will it take him to get here?
I told him 10:30.
Fact.
He's late.
Observed by every single
I
newspaper.
promised we'd call him first.
Oh, we'll call him first, all
By the
right.
gentlemen of the press, but the contempt here was committed by a person who is neither a gentleman nor from the press. The person is female and from television. If any person who has been in this court, any person at all, had a hand in this matter, they will be sought out and punished. I will send the papers to the Director of Public Prosecutions.
Barney,
that it may be
go ahead,
decided
look, the bull's running out of steam.
action will be taken against this most foolish and wicked young woman.
Mr. Lucas.
Yes.
I'm Bernard. Could we just have a moment to check over what you told me?
Yes.
Now, when did you say this meeting first took place?
Well, you asked me to announce it as part.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, in opening for the defence, it is my duty to outline to you the evidence that we shall be calling. I will be calling a witness. I hope to God I'm going to call a witness. Who may be able to penetrate the pall of secrecy that has fallen over this case. Who may have the bad manners and the rotten taste to actually tell us the truth about the evidence. Who may be able to penetrate for us the old boy net. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I will now call... Who shall I now call?
Mr. Stephen.
Mr. Simon... Stephen Lucas.
Very well, Mr. Rumpole.
Take the book in your right hand and repeat the oath from the card.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Mr. Stephen Lucas, you are a member of the Foreign Office Legal Department.
Yes, I am.
And do you know the witness that we call Mr. X? I have asked him to come back to court so that you may identify him.
Yes, I do.
Is he a friend of yours?
Well, we meet in the Foreign Office, of course, and I would say I know him fairly well and over a long period.
Yes, of course. Now, do you remember lunching with him a year ago at his club, and was that at his invitation?
Yes, it was.
What did you discuss? Do you remember?
We discussed a number of things, the work of my department and so on, and then he asked me some questions about the recent Contempt of Court Act.
The Contempt of Court Act. And what particular aspect of that act was our friend Mr. X interested in?
In the court's power to order that the name of a witness in a blackmail case should be kept secret, perhaps forever. I remember his observing that, therefore, if you wanted your name kept out of a particular scandal or something of the sort, all you would have to do would be to accuse someone of blackmail.
I see. Mr. Lucas, what made you remember this conversation?
It was last night when I heard Mr. X's name mentioned on the television news. I thought it might have some bearing on the case.
You may well be right. And you no doubt felt that it was your public duty to come forward. Mr. Lucas, you say that you know Mr. X very well. You didn't by any chance go to school together?
No, I wasn't at Lawnhurst.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. Thank the Lord he wasn't. We wouldn't have got a word out of him otherwise.
So, you wouldn't have come here to give evidence if there hadn't been a flagrant contempt of court and Mr. X's name hadn't been mentioned on the television news.
Yes, that's right.
I agree. It is all very unfortunate, Mr. Valmont, but what can I do about it? I can't exclude this evidence.
No, my lord. No. But it is most unfortunate.
It is indeed. But then the harm has been done.
Or the good. It depends on which way you look at it, old love. So it would seem to be clear, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that Mr. X could not bring himself to give up his visits to the friendly house at number 66 Barnardine Square. And yet he was terrified that one day the place may be raided and his name would come out in the ensuing scandal. So he hit upon this over-elaborate insurance device. 2 checks, sure proof that he had paid money on the Lee's behalf, would lay the foundation for a trumped-up blackmail charge which would keep his name a secret forever. It was a devious plan, cunning, complicated, expensive, and absolutely futile. Indeed, just the sort of plan you may think that would occur to somebody high up in our country's government. And why was it futile? Because Mr. X need never have worried. He had nothing to fear. The Lees would never have betrayed his pathetic little secrets. It would have been against their code. For it was for them, as it never was for Mr. X, a question of morality. Well, 6 months for the disorderly house, I'm afraid.
A first-class result on the blackmail, Mr. Rumpole.
Wasn't it, Mr. Bernard? Thank you very much.
Just hope Custard didn't think we sneaked on him.
He knows we'd never do a thing like that, Nappy.
Custard? Why Custard?
His name's Cuthbert, so we called him Custard at school.
I suppose that follows.
Well, even if Custard didn't behave very well, we didn't break the code, Nappy. That's something to comfort us.
Oh, it won't be too bad. They'll probably send you to an open prison.
Well, a chap's been at Lawnhurst. Prison should be a piece of cake.
Yeah, you never know. You might meet some old boys.
I didn't go to Lawnhurst.
I don't know if that's a point.
Yes.
I didn't go to Rodine either. It was a question of the Reddies.
It's boys only where I'm going, I suppose?
Yes, I'm afraid so. No co-education.
Not as sorry, old girl. We're going to be separated.
Not for long, Nappy. And we've had a marvellous offer for the freehold.
Yes, not to mention the goodwill.
It was a marvellous win.
There's one thing you'll have to learn very quickly, Fiona, if you want to be a barrister. Keep the rules.
I don't know what you mean.
Don't you? Oh, don't worry. I don't imagine Miss Isabel Vincent is going to reveal her sources. She's all out for martyrdom. But you must keep the rules. You can swear at them, argue your way around them, do your damnedest to change them. But if you break them, how the hell are you going to help the other poor idiot in trouble?
I'll never get a place in Chambers now.
I don't know. Perhaps you will, perhaps you won't. There is another little cause or matter you can help me with.
Can I?
Oh, yes. The defense of Miss Vincent. Look up the contempt of court cases, why don't you? Oh, yes, we've got to keep the good Ms. out of the nick. I don't know about you, but martyrs make me exceedingly nervous.
Well, Marty, as I say, I think he's going to be busy up until the middle of next week. Mr. Rumpole?
Yeah?
The Chambers meeting has started, you know, sir.
Meeting?
Sorry about that. In Mr. Justice Featherstone's old room, sir. Oh, and the judge's clerk came round with a letter for you, sir.
Oh, a billet doux from a judge. How very most unusual.
No. That's on moral grounds. I do think this...
What's going on? Is this a prayer meeting or something? What are you doing here?
Well, hasn't anyone told you? Featherstone J said he'd written as soon as he knew you were back.
Dear old Horace, old boy, just a brief note to introduce Sam Ballard, who was, in fact, my fag master at Marlborough. Sam came to me looking for a London home. All the other fellows agreed, and as you were off in the jungle, we knew you'd have no objection. Someone will have to take over as head of chambers, as I am detained during Her Majesty's pleasure, and Sam Ballard is clearly a likely candidate. Marigold joins me in sending all our best wishes to you and Hilda.
Glad you could make it, Rumpole.
We thought Roger Bullingham might have put you in chokey, Horace, on a little matter of contempt of court.
Oh, Skin Brown, you're so amusing.
Yes. Well, now we're all assembled. Perhaps we should decide who is going to approach the inn as the new head of this chambers.
Yes, well, speaking for myself, I have been in these chambers for a good many years.
Not half as long as Rumpole.
Oh, thank you, Uncle Tom.
Rumpole's been here since the year dot. As far as I remember.
And although I haven't yet been able to put on the knee breeches and silk gown, as you have, Ballard, my application is in to the Lord Chancellor's office, and I don't imagine there'll be any difficulty.
There's many a slip twixt knee breeches and hip.
What is it? Has Rumpole made a joke?
Of course, I'm a complete newcomer here.
Yes, that's right. They just dropped you in with a copy of today's Times.
But whoever heads these chambers will, I hope, be able to take the position seriously.
And here endeth her first lesson.
It's also terribly important that whoever heads us should be a barrister entirely sans reproche.
Oh, absolument, Claude.
We must cherish our high reputation. It would be most unfortunate if we had a head who could possibly be even accused of sharp practice.
Just what do you mean by that exactly?
No. I don't think there should be any speculation arising out of the recent case at the Old Bailey. It's true, a question of contempt of court did arise.
You're delighted to say.
But that issue still has to be decided. There has been no finding as to how the information was leaked. One hopes, of course, the information was not leaked by any member of the legal profession.
Yeah.
So, I think we should put the regrettable matter of a flagrant contempt of court out of our minds for the purposes of this decision. Well, wouldn't you agree that that is the fair approach?
Oh, yes.
Oh, soapy Sam, how very clever. What can I say?
Well, now, Rumpole, as an old member of this set...
Of course he's old. Rumpole can't help being old.
Yes. Have you anything to say?
Why sentence of death should not be passed against me. Only this. I would just like to remind you all of the claims of someone who has been associated with these chambers for far longer than any of you, who grew up in these fly-blown rooms and on this dusty staircase, who has never aspired to silk nor to judicial office, nor even to appearing before the Uxbridge magistrates, but someone whose whole ambition is centred on that meaningless title, Head of Chambers.
What's Rumpole talking about?
He means himself.
No, Erskine Brown. I do not mean me.
You too, Rumpole.
Yes, Hilda?
Has it been decided yet?
Will not find me.
But in principle, Rumpole, it has been decided in principle, hasn't it?
Well, they're having the Chambers party on the 29th. They'll announce their decision then. Look, Hilda, I really wouldn't bother going. They can be pretty grisly occasions.
This won't be grisly, Rumpole. It'll be a triumph. And nothing on earth is going to keep me away. La-di-da, di-da-di-da, di-di-da-di, la-di-da. Those are cheese and oniony, and those are the little sausage arrangements, if that's what you prefer. Of course, I shall be running these parties now. Marigold Featherstone was a sweet person, of course, but I don't think she had a great interest in the canapes. Oh, it's a little prawny sort of vol au vent arrangement. Slightly light, isn't it? I do want these parties to be a success for Rumpole.
Everybody, Uncle Tom.
Oh, thank you. It falls to me, as the oldest member of Chambers, to do the honours here tonight.
Uncle Tom!
Mrs. Rumpole?
Carry on, Uncle Tom,
Yes,
carry on.
thank you. I was going to. I remember 3 Court many years ago when dear old C.H. Whiston was head of Chambers.
Uncle Tom remembers Daddy.
Exactly. Horace Rumpole and I used to hang about in the clerk's room waiting for work.
Please, Charles.
I used to while away the time practicing chip shots with an old masher nibbling. It seems my one legal ambition was to get my balls into the wastepaper basket.
Fiona.
Then the present Mr. Justice Featherstone came to head us. Of course, at the time, he was plain Guthrie Featherstone, albeit QCMP. And now a new chapter opens in our history.
Here.
Thank you. The man I have to introduce as our new head of Chambers, voted on by a comfortable majority, I may say, is a man well known and respected not only in legal circles but in the church.
Rumpole?
He is a man deeply concerned with the problems of morality. I happened to be taking dinner with old Tuppy Thompson, ex-canon of Southwark Cathedral, and he said to me, "A little bird told me about your new head of Chambers. You've got a sound man there," he said, "one who walketh in the ways of righteousness, yea, even through the valley of the Central Criminal Court."
The ways of righteousness. They ought to see him at breakfast when he's in a bad temper. And not much of the ways of righteousness then, Uncle Tom.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to raise a glass to our new head of Chambers. I give you our dear old Chambers 3 Equity Court, coupled with the name of Sam Ballard, one of Her Majesty's Council. Long may he reign over. Thank you.
Amen.
You never told me.
No, Hilda, I funked it.
Fast over again.
Never mind, old girl, it's not the end of the world. You're still a wonderful advocate, Hilda. Terrific in argument.
What a failure, Rumpole.
Well, let's have another slurp of bubbly, shall we? Why not drink to failure? After all, champagne tastes just as good.
He's eating all of Dodo's little cheesy bits. Oh, gee.